NIO ES6 deliveries for last week, the insurance registrations fell for the 5th consecutive week from 2,210 to 1,986. Is this something that we should be concerned about? Because this trend has been going on for 5 weeks. Not unless the competitors are doing better. Now, we'll go over how the competitors are doing and also market share wise. But first, let's go through some of the other deliveries for NIO for last week, the insurance numbers. The ET5 and ET5T actually increased in numbers, very nice, from 799 to 1,002. A nice increase of 203 vehicles. Very good, very good. The ES8 actually saw an increase as well, from 449 to 629. A nice and juicy 180 vehicle increase. The 777, ET7, ES7, and EC7 saw a decrease in deliveries from 189 to 141, a decrease of 48 vehicles week over week. The EC6 saw a very small, tiny increase from 269 to 276, just 7 vehicles. Obviously, this car has not ramped up in production yet. Orders are not being fulfilled until 3 or 4 weeks later, so it will take some more time before those deliveries really kick in. Plotting all these delivery results on a chart, and we can see what that looks like. We can see the worrying trend, which is the ES6 deliveries for July. Really good increase for now since the middle of August, just consecutive weeks of decreasing deliveries, now less than 2,000 per week. It is a little bit concerning, but the good news is, of course, the ET5 and ET5T has rebounded very nice, even though we are still below the average of July and August. So we still want ET5 deliveries to go up more. We'll go over what is going on with the ET5 later on, all right? Because remember, these are ET5 plus ET5T numbers combined. Individually, the ET5 is disappointing. And then we got ES8 numbers. ES8 numbers actually creating a all-time high for deliveries, 629. This is very good result. The highest number of weekly ES8 deliveries since inception, since ever. Very good. Hopefully this trend can keep up. Wealthy people are choosing the ES8 and they absolutely should. The EC6 deliveries still hasn't kicked in yet. Not much to talk about over there. The 777 deliveries have suffered quite substantially. You know, those are all fantastic cars. EC7 is my favorite, best performance in terms of driving dynamics, 50-50 weight distribution, and it's got the looks as well. ET7 has the best aerodynamic, best efficiency. The ES7, not much to talk about for the ES7, but a lot of people are probably choosing the ES8, spending a little bit more money for the ES8, which has a lot more features than the ES7. So delivery for those guys are not doing that good. But then we gotta look at the competitors. Now, most people here in China define luxury EV as pretty much NIO, BMW, and Zeekr. So looking at how Zeekr did, Zeekr's deliveries jumped from 1,824 to 2,082, a whopping 258 vehicle increase week over week. BMW i3 deliveries also jumped from 1,272 up to 1,617, an increase of 345 vehicles week over week. The iX3 also saw an increase in deliveries from 635 up to 827. An increase of 192. Now plot this all on a chart and this is what you get. This is a little bit concerning for me because, as you can tell, compared to its main competitors, Zeekr actually became the best selling vehicle model by itself, briefly, for 1 week. This has never happened, all right? And I'm sure Zeekr is going to do all sorts of promotional. You know, last week we sold a lot, but in terms of monthly deliveries, I don't think it's going to overtake NIO ES6. But this trend is a little bit worrying. ES6 going down, Zeekr is going up, BMW i3 is going up as well. ET5 and ET5T going up slightly, but you can tell that the gap between the Zeekr and BMW i3 and ET5, they're just getting, the gap is getting much bigger and bigger. We do not want to see that. BMW iX3 also increasing. So straight from this chart, you can tell that NIO is losing a little bit of market share. And indeed, NIO is losing a little bit of market share. In terms of weekly deliveries compared to those two guys, NIO used to have 51%, which is really nice. And then now it's 47%. It's still number one. NIO's still number one. Don't forget that. Still very good. But it is dropping slightly. Now, if you add the big boys to the table, like Tesla, BYD, and those other guys, you can tell that, of course, Model Y is the best seller. And by the way, this is a ranking of all the vehicles, EVs, pure EVs, sold in China above 300k RMB, which is sort of like the luxury level for last week. So Model Y, definitely the best one. And then number 2 is BYD Han, and it jumped 2 spots up. Next is Zeekr 001, maintaining the 3rd spot. And then we got the ES6, which dropped from position number 2 down to position number 4 due to these decrease in weekly deliveries. Next up, we got the BMW i3, the ID4 Cross, and of course the ET5, which also includes the ET5T. All right, keep in mind. Now, what is going on with the ET5 sales? The ET5 was supposed to be the savior for NIO. It's supposed to overtake BMW 3 Series and be the best seller, and briefly it was. I remember this time last year I made this video. It got a lot of views as well, and it was absolutely amazing how in China people were lining up to see the ET5. It was just a beautiful car. A lot of female buyers. They got over 50% of the buyers were females. They were placing orders, and you got situations where the husband's like, they don't want to buy this car, but the lady's like, nah, I'm buying this car or we're getting a divorce. So back then, it was really hard to comprehend. The ET5 was such a hot product. But then now, fast forward to right now, the situation is very, very different. And I want to point you guys to this excellent article by Fei Zhang from CNEV Post. And I'll link it down in the description and also in the pinned comments. But here's a little excerpt from the paragraph. Why the ET5 disappointed. In the coupe market, where the ET5 is aiming for a price of around 300,000 Chinese yuan, it has a forest of rivals, including the Tesla Model 3 and Xpeng P7. NIO's delivery capacity was weak, and customers naturally flowed to other companies. Yes, people were waiting long for deliveries. It was just so painful to see that. And factory number 2, it was just not fully operational at that time. And also add to that, you got COVID complications and then also quality problems with the first batch of cars, having to recall the cars. So a lot of people sort of gave up on their ET5 orders. And then after that, right at the start of 2023, that's when you got all the price cuts from Tesla, cutting prices like there's no tomorrow. By the middle of the year, the ET5, which had climbed to adequate levels of capacity, had missed the best time to sell and went from struggling to deliver to struggling to sell, and saw a lot of inventory. NIO started offering subsidies to clear inventory for this car. Yes, went from low supply to low demand. My personal take on why the ET5 kind of slumped and really disappointed, it's mostly to do with competitors offering a fantastic product at a cheaper price point. So if you're management, think about it this way. Back then, at late 2022 and even throughout the year of 2022, the ET5, compared to its competitors, clearly the better option. All right, and it's very easy for management to think bullishly of the ET5. But then price cuts for a lot of the competitors. Zeekr cuts prices like crazy. BMW i3 cuts prices like crazy. So you get this situation where the Zeekr has air suspension, the ET5 does not have air suspension, but at the same time, the Zeekr is cheaper than the ET5. So it becomes a difficult situation for the consumers. Before, they were paying the same price. They would choose NIO for the battery swap, for the service. But now the Zeekr is so cheaper, so much cheaper. BMW i3 is so much cheaper. Tesla Model 3 is so much cheaper. Those guys are offering a good product for a cheaper price. That's hard for NIO to compete against. In a future video, I'll highlight some of the key differences and why I'm really worried about the ET5 and ET5T. But for now, keep in mind, NIO's still doing very well, fairly well. But you got to keep your eyes open. All right, keep your eyes open and pray to God that ES6 numbers start rebounding and doesn't continue its downtrend. And also, let's get those EC6 deliveries as fast as we can. Enough rambling. See you in the next one. Peace out.